creating blank rows. Now, it is very crucial to remove blank rows in Microsoft Excel when you are dealing with data cleaning. In some other tools, the blank row won't appear at all. But in case it appears in Microsoft Excel, you need to remove blank rows. I'll show you a simple effect on what it can have on your analysis. Okay, if you want to try it out with me, there is no problem. Okay, now we have what is known as auto formulas. Okay, we have what is known as auto formulas in Excel. If you come over to my ribbon tab at the top, you see where I have formulas, the formulas ribbon tab. If I click on that, okay, I have auto sum here. If I click on the drop down, I can click on average, count numbers, max, min, or other function that I can automatically perform. Okay, all right. Now, we are going to make use of sum. I want to see on this data, I have some certain employees working for a company or for different companies. Now, I have their salary amount. I have how much they make in the side hustle. Okay. And then I have the total. Now, the total is simply a sum of the salary and the side hustle. And I've been given a job to do something very simple. Just find out how much everyone earns in total. That is one. Then find the total salary for the entire data set and also find the total side hustle income for the entire data set. Okay. Now, one easy thing I can do is I can perform an auto sum. If you're someone that doesn't really like typing out your formulas in the cell by yourself, okay, you can do what is known as an auto sum. Okay. For instance, if I want to sum this entire data, what I will do is that I will come to the last cell in that column, the last cell or the cell after the last data in that column, which is this cell. I will click on this cell. Then in my formula bar at the top, where I have auto sum, I will click on auto sum and I will click on sum because I want to sum. If I click on sum, if you look at this, okay, what really happens here is that Excel takes the formula sum. What the function sum does is this. Sum, we add up the values in a range of cells. If I have 10 cells, if I want to add up the value in those cells, I can use the sum function. Now, because I don't want to press it in myself, I want Excel to automatically calculate it for me, was why I went through this route. Now, when I click on auto sum, you can see here that it says equal to, which is what every formula or function should begin with in your formula or in your, what's it called, when you're working with it in Excel, isn't it? So you see equal to, then the name of the function sum, open bracket. Now, what it is summing is what you have inside the brackets. Remember, E23, E24 are cell references. From the last class, you should not forget that. They are cell references. Those are the names of the cell. Now, whenever you see a colon, I have E23 colon E24. Whenever you see a colon between two cell references, for instance, E23 colon E24, what it denotes is that this is a range, meaning I am basically listing all the cells from E23 all the way to E24, and there's no cell in between. So it is just E23 and E24. But if you have something like E1 colon E24, then it means that it is taking all the cells in that range from E1 to E2 to E3, then E4 and E5, then E6, all the way to E24. It is going to try as much as possible to sum everything in that range. That is what it will do. Okay. But you can see when I applied the auto sum, the range it picked was E23 colon E24. It was not able to start from the top here. And this is because of the blank cell I have here. If I press enter, this total amount is simply calculating the sum of the last two cells. If I do the same thing for side hustle, I will have the same issue. So what I need to do is to correct the effect of these blank rows on this data. So I'm going to need to remove the blank rows. Okay, I'm just showing you this as a technique in the event where the data you're working on is something you can easily see those blank rows. All right, you can easily see those blank rows. But in Excel, hardly, okay, hardly would you have to start with deleting blank rows. All right, most times you would want to start with, oh, let me delete, what's it called? Let me delete cells that are empty to avoid mix-up or errors. Okay, but in this case, we can easily see that, oh, a row is entirely blank. Another row is entirely blank. So I can use deleting blank rows here. Okay, now instead of right-clicking the row and deleting and doing it for all the four, okay, a faster approach, a faster approach, like I said, requires you highlighting the data set. Okay, once you highlight the data set, the entire range, you are telling Excel that you want to perform an operation that covers only this range. Whenever you do not highlight the range, Excel automatically assumes that whatever operation you are performing applies to the entire sheet. But when you highlight a range, you are telling Excel that whatever operation it is that I want to perform should be performed on this range where I have this data. So I'm going to go up to my home tab, okay? And under my home tab, I have find and select. If you look on the right hand side, you will see find and select. So click on the drop down and you will need to locate go to special. Go to special. So I want to go to a special function. Okay, click on go to special. Now, under go to special, what I'm going to tick on is this. In this highlighted range, I want to be able to identify the blank rows. So I'm going to select blanks. Do you see this? I will select blanks. All right. And then I will click on OK. Now, if you take a note quickly, you would see that only the rows that were entirely blank are now highlighted. You see those rows that were entirely blank? Those are the rows that are now highlighted. Okay. This place looks white because I have the selected cell there, but it is also highlighted because you will see that the highlighting starts from the number 6. So it tells you that that row is highlighted. Okay. Now, these rows are highlighted. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to my delete. Now, go up to where you have delete. Okay. Here, I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, delete. And what I want to delete is those rows that are blank. Now, because I have already highlighted those rows that are blank, remember I highlighted the entire data first. Then using my go to special, I located the blank rows. So it dishighlights everything and only highlights the blank rows. Then I will click on delete sheet rows. So once I click on delete sheet rows, you will see that those rows that were entirely blank, it deletes them automatically. Now I have my data in whole as it should be. Now let us now try and perform the sum that we tried initially. If I come to the bottom of my data now and I go to the formulas tab, auto sum, do you now see that Excel is able to detect the correct range that, oh, sorry about what happened initially. It seems what you actually want to calculate is the sum of this range of cells, E2 all the way to E19. So you can see E2 colon E19. It is not saying sum only E2 and E19. No, it is saying sum every cell you can find from E2 to E19 in that order. So E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, E9, E10, E11, E12, E13, E14, E15, E16, E17, E18, and E19. So all those cells are what it defines as E2 colon E19. Okay, then I would go ahead and press enter. Now it gives me the actual sum of that column. Oh, I now see the need to do the same thing for the salary column and the side hustle. Very easily, I'll go to that cell as well and I will click on auto sum and I'll press enter. Beautiful. I love this. Now, whenever you perform a sum or any operation on a cell, or you open your data and instead of saying numbers on your data, what you are saying is hash, 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 hash in a column. This is what it simply means. It does not mean that the data is wrong. You should go and delete it. No. What this hash symbol simply means is that there is a value in that cell. Okay? The value is a number. It is not a text. Okay? It is a number. Now, that number is not being shown fully. Okay? The reason why it's not being shown fully is because the size of the column does not contain it. So you need to expand the column size. so that it can accommodate that value to show fully. Now, if I come up here, you can see it is this cell that is not showing fully. So I need to expand this column C. To expand column C, I will go to the right-hand border at the column header. See my cursor how it looks currently. But when I take it to that border, it looks like a bidirectional arrow pointing both ways. So I will hold my right key down on my mouse or my trackpad, and I will open up, drag it to open, and I will remove my hand. When I drag it to open, now you see that the value there is showing fully. Do you see that? But if I click and I drag it to close, you can see that it turns to ash immediately. If I close it again, you can see everything here turns to ash. So it doesn't mean that this column is wrong. Okay, that's another thing you need to take note in what's it called? Your data cleaning. Okay, it doesn't mean that it is wrong. Do you get that? Okay, so you need to first and foremost expand the column. Now, why does Excel do this? You know, it is easy for me to, let me expand it first. Now, you see, if I expand it a bit, the ones that can accommodate, they show very well. The ones that cannot still accommodate, it doesn't show very well. It shows ash all through. But if I open it up, good, everything is showing now. But if I close up text, for instance, now, see this company, if I close it, some companies are not showing in full. Excel doesn't mind for the company not to show in full because the company are text. You can't really go wrong with the company. For instance, now, if it is face I see here, I'll know, oh, it's most likely Facebook. I think I should open it. But it won't want to try the same thing for salary where it overlaps the column. Why? Because if it cuts out some numbers, you might think that is the actual number in the column or in the cell. So what it will simply do is that it will just overwrite. It will just turn everything to ash. Okay? It will just turn everything to ash so that you don't make silly assumptions. For instance, now, here, 63,711. Imagine it covers the 0.59. You will know there's a 0.59 there. Do you get that? Okay? That is one of the reasons why. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this column as well. And I'll do the same thing for the side hustle finally. Click here, formulas, auto sum, and I'll press enter. So I have done a little bit of analysis right now by summing these three columns to get the total salary, the total side hustle, and the total amount generated in income for all of these employees in their respective companies. Okay, so that is how you remove blank rows from data. That is how you remove blank rows from data. Now, mind you, you might have a question that what if it is only one blank cell you have in that row, that the row is not entirely blank? That is why I said, hardly would you use this technique. Okay, what we do most times is that we use the most powerful tool in our data cleaning. And what tool is that? That is the filtering tool. When we get to sort and filter, I have a sheet for sort and filter there. We will explore that tool. That is like the most powerful tool in your data cleaning because it reveals a lot about your data set to you. Okay, so it is that route you would go through to delete some certain rows instead of just saying delete blanks, where you would by mistake delete a row that is not entirely blank, but because it has a blank cell in it. So what we do rather is we use the sort and filter. It is only when you are working in the Power Query editor, that is in Power BI now, okay, that you would be able to remove blank rows without affecting the data that has just one empty row or one empty cell rather. Okay, so that is that on removing blank rows.